Some part of me has always had this weird soft spot for holiday movies. Not just holiday movies, but the Hallmark kind. They all work like jigsaw puzzles rearranged to fit a slightly different image each time, but they're kind of comforting to watch. Because on some level, you know what to expect when you're going into them. My grandma lived with us when I was younger, and she cycled between 3 channels. The Food Network, TV Land, and the Hallmark Channel. And obviously that was when I got my start watching Hallmark movies. I would lean my head into the living room when she was watching something, and I would catch a few minutes of it, and then I would slowly lean my whole body against the door frame, and then slowly make my way over to the couch and sit down and just hang out for the whole movie. And sometimes I would wind up staying for a few episodes of whatever show she was watching or a couple of movies in a row. That's how I started watching shows like Sanford and Son, Bewitched, The Brady Bunch, and of course that's where my obsession with Hallmark movies started. Now, of course, as a millennial, I don't have the Hallmark Channel, but I do have Netflix. I am here for Vanessa Hudgens carving out a place for herself with these cheesy holiday movies on Netflix. Of course, there's the Princess Switch, but the one we're going to talk about today, it's The Night Before Christmas. I just love watching these movies with her because it's so clearly her just showing up to work and just collecting a check for the bare minimum again and again. And this is Night Before Christmas, like night with a K, night before Christmas, you get it. So we open on this really overexposed, bright medieval landscape. That's how you know it's supposed to be a holiday movie. It's really overexposed and brightly colored, and most of the colors that you see are red and green, just in case you forgot that what you were watching is a holiday movie. The knight in this movie is named Cole, and his brother Jeffrey? Yeah, Jeffrey. They're participating in this Christmas hunt thing while back in modern times, Vanessa Hudgens is a high school teacher who tells this teenage girl whose boyfriend broke up with her to give up on love because men are trash. That's how we know she's hurt in this movie. They don't even ease us in. They just drop us right into it. Like, she don't believe in love. I wonder what her arc in this movie is going to be.
Finding true love with a knight in shining armor and living happily ever after.
I'm so mad that in the first few minutes of this movie, she actually said the words knight in shining armor. Back to the medieval Christmas hunt, our hero finds an old crone in the forest and she asks him for help. He offers her a ride back to the castle to get her out of the cold, and she offers him a gift for his kindness. She gives him until midnight Christmas Eve, or on the night before Christmas, you might say, to complete his quest. But she doesn't tell him what the quest is. So to be clear, the stakes are complete your quest or never become a true knight, and I will give you a single guess what that quest is going to be. So she zaps him to the future, and the horse runs off like, ah! It goes running back to the castle like, oh, Jesus, that took him, I barely got away. And his brother calmly approaches the horse and asks,
where's your master? Show him my call.
He's not nearly concerned enough that this horse came running back by itself and his master is gone. So now our knight in shining armor is in the future, and there's some pretty stellar music playing when he arrives. I kind of love this version of this song, and I kind of love the whole soundtrack for this movie, actually, and I'm not really a Christmas music kind of person. So now we get to start my favorite part of the movie, which is the extended portions where they get to do the bit where he stops and goes, "What's a selfie? What is this? Coco? Huh, what is this magic box? Oh, a flying steel dragon."
Lady Alexa play.
Vanessa and her niece are wandering around and dodge a sighting of Vanessa's ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend. They go to see Santa, and this little girl actually asks Santa for a new boyfriend for Vanessa and says that she got cheated on. Vanessa just laughs it off, and they go get hot chocolate. But I would have just been standing there like, I'm fine. Thanks, kid. I appreciate that. Thanks for telling Santa. The old crone had taken possession of the woman playing Mrs. Claus at this little Christmas town, but she has now flitted back off to whatever magical ether she exists in when she's not possessing people, I guess. And the knight walks up and calls the now normal woman an old crone, and she just looks at him kind of confused. You know that she's changed back into a normal person because they play that magical chime sound that indicates something magical happened. Vanessa finally bumps into Cole, and the meeting is very brief, and Vanessa brings her niece... What's this little girl's name? Claire? Yeah, Claire. Brings Claire back to her mom, whose name is... Madison. They talk about Claire asking Santa and the magical, at the time, version of Mrs. Claus for a puppy, and all go home. But a snowstorm begins, and Vanessa runs over Sir Cole, who is wandering through the street and calling his horse like it's a dog. A kindly police officer shows up to help, and together they all go to the hospital. They figure out that Cole thinks he's a knight, and of course they think he's confused, and Vanessa offers him a place to stay because he has no memory, and she is the one who ran him over. They're in her car, and there's more hilarious fish out of water stuff where he's figuring out modern technology and calling her car a steed, get it, because it's like a horse, and pressing all the buttons on the radio. It's a bit with endless possibilities, and as we all know, it never gets old. When he opens the sunroof and the snow comes in, she just has her eyes closed for a while. Like, she's still actively driving. No wonder she hit his ass in the first place. Vanessa, you're a terrible driver. They're walking inside, and she's telling him that he can stay in her guest house, and she slips on some ice. But don't worry, he catches her. She has a huge, well-decorated house, which is appropriate for the look of this type of movie, though not for her humble, relatable high school teacher salary. But don't worry, we establish it is her conveniently dead parents' house. She offers him some of her ex-boyfriend's clothes that she still has around for some reason. Girl, take that shit to Goodwill. That does not want you anymore. We have the obligatory scene where she sees him shirtless, and she does the real-life version of this emoji. Her sister calls and is very realistically explaining that she knows nothing about this dude. And Vanessa says,
Mads, I've been teaching long enough to know a good apple when I see one, okay?
I missed that line the first time I saw this. Okay, Vanessa, by that logic, how did you not know that your ex-boyfriend was a bad apple? I'm putting myself in her sister's shoes here, and in her mind, it looks like her sister got cheated on and dumped, got so bitter about it that she starts telling teenagers to stop believing in love, and then invites a random guy who they suspect might have a possible head injury to stay in her house with her. And I'm kind of on her sister's side here. She's just looking out for her sister because from her perspective, it kind of looks like she's spiraling out of control, even if she's doing it in really nice, expensive-looking sweaters instead of grungy sweatpants and a t-shirt. Cole tries to kill a skunk for food, and Vanessa stops him and brings him to a diner because she apparently doesn't have food at home. Cole calls the waitress a wench, and we all laugh. It's very funny. The ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend arrive. Ah, yes, of course. It's not that she didn't have food, it's that we needed a reason for Cole to threaten him with a sword, and you can see her get a little excited at all of this talk of gallantry and honor and violence against her ex. They go back home, and Vanessa turns on the TV and also shows him how to use Alexa as product placement. I mean, in case he prefers minstrels. Vanessa goes to bed, and of course he starts asking for random things from Alexa because he doesn't understand what it is.
I want my horse. I want to fulfill my quest and return home for my brother's knighting ceremony.
Here's O Holy Night.
The next morning, Madison stops by with clothes and food for Cole, and they find him awake after a night of binging TV. Vanessa kicks her out, and Cole changes clothes. Here we get my other favorite bit in movies like this, the past person is confused by future dialect bit.
How is it permissible to call one's friend mom, dad, king, queen, babe, sis, bro, or bae?
They sit down to watch TV together and fall asleep on the couch. Cole dreams of his poor horse Sherwin and the crone reminding him of his quest. They wake up and decide to do some Christmas decorating. Vanessa tells Cole how she moved home when her mom got sick and that her dad passed away a few months after her mom. He shares his story about not seeing his parents since leaving home as a squire. She decides to finally open her mom's special box of Christmas decorations. They talk about time travel, and he tells her not to worry about it. Anything is possible. He finally tells her she can stop calling him sir since they are better friends now. Cole hates Vanessa's fake tree, so they go to chop a new one. He tells her how they used to decorate them and how he would get an orange and a half penny as a gift on Christmas morning. They find a tree and he chops it down in one swing. They get back to the house and he asks her to borrow her car. And she says yes. Her sister is right to be worried. She is making so many bad decisions right now. She suspects him of a head injury and she says yes to this. He gets in the car and this happens. And she just stands there like, okay, bye, have fun, drive safe. Cole crashes the car and then returns to the Christmas village and searches for the crone. He talks to Santa, who gives him some pretty solid advice. The police officer finds Vanessa's car abandoned in the road and reports it to her. Finds Cole at the Christmas town and they talk about his quest. She is not nearly mad enough about this random man crashing her car and abandoning it with the door open in the middle of the street. Real life, he would be like a serial killer whose quest is to kill her on Christmas Eve or something. This could so easily be a horror movie. In fact, I think I would prefer it if it was. The next day, Vanessa shows Cole a live stream of current-day England, and he's confused by all of the people at the Tower of London, and Vanessa has to explain tourists to him. Madison and Claire arrive with snacks, and Cole tells Claire that she can't be a knight, but Vanessa corrects him. Cole says that he can train Claire with sticks to avoid injury. They start to decorate the tree, and we find out that The Night Before Christmas is set in the Christmas Prince universe of Netflix movies.
Your grandma and grandpa picked this up on their trip to Aldovia.
So apparently this whole universe is just one big overexposed Christmas movie.
Leaning a little far to the right. That's perfect.
It's still crooked. Madison talks to Vanessa while Cole trains Claire outside. Vanessa is clearly starting to believe Cole and straight up says,
What if Cole really is who he says he is?
okay, Madison, time to do the sister thing and step in. Vanessa clearly needs help and support right now. No? Just gonna leave her alone again with this guy? The guy who nobody knows anything about and Vanessa is starting to actually believe is a magical time-traveling knight? Okay.
Okay, kiddo. Time to say goodnight to the good night.
Nice. Vanessa wakes up to Cole attacking her fake reindeer decorations. Oh, I've just figured out why they have Vanessa be a teacher for this movie. Because it doesn't really have, anything to do with her character at all. It's so that she has nothing to do all day except spend time with Cole leading up to Christmas because she is on winter break. Her interactions with the student we meet could be removed from the story and nothing really would change. So her being a teacher is completely pointless except for it frees her up during the day. Okay. Vanessa's neighbor comes over excitedly and offers to help clean up the mess in the yard. Vanessa introduces them and the neighbor Allison invites Cole out caroling later. He declines while visibly uncomfortable. Inside, Vanessa says that in high school, Allison was voted the biggest flirt. Girl, this is why you don't move back to your hometown. You have to deal with all of this while in high school, BS. In high school, I remember you being into singing and performing, but I don't see any of that here. People change. Vanessa explains how she has trust issues after her ex cheated. She is so traumatized by that man that she literally needs someone with a baby born sexy yesterday brain to feel love again. Vanessa needs help with preparing the town feast holiday thing, and Cole agrees to assist because he's just such a great dude. Claire's playing outside with her friend who doesn't have good gloves, and her little friend says that her dad gets sad when they ask him to buy new things, and so Claire gives her her own. This scene mingling with people is probably my favorite in terms of characterization and just feeling natural. Vanessa personally thanks David, the father of Claire's best friend, for finding the time to volunteer. At the grocery store, we finally get back to our fish out of water bit as Cole goggles at the walls of stuff everywhere. I was seriously missing that bit. We were going so long without whole scenes revolving around it. He grabs an armful of hot cocoa mix. Get it? Because he likes hot cocoa. Vanessa's student is there suddenly. The girl asks for an extra credit assignment to bring up her midterm, and Vanessa says of course. The girl runs off, and Vanessa has to deal with Cole opening and eating the dinner rolls in the store. He says they're nasty, and she can't serve them to her guests.
Guide me down the path containing flour, yeast, and butter.
Claire and her friend Lily go out to play in the snow, while back at Casa de Vanessa, they start baking the bread for the feast. Cole tells her about the legend of finding the bean in the bread and making a wish. The only reason for the baking scene is so they could do this. Madison calls because Claire is missing. We are at approximately 2/3 through the movie and we need a crisis of some sort. They got lost in the snow and wound up at the lake in a nearby park. Somehow they got that far away, and now Claire is stuck out on thin ice. Cole gallantly saves her, and all is well and resolved in about 2 minutes. Lily's father wants to thank Cole personally, and the friendly cop talks to Vanessa. He points out that Cole's memories aren't coming back. Vanessa thinks this must have been his quest, but Cole says no. That sweater is hideous. They have a moment where he admits it may not be so bad being stuck here if his quest can't be fulfilled. They have an almost kiss, and then bam! Madison's husband Evan barges in, back from a business trip. Vanessa introduces Cole as a new family friend. Cole catches a teenage pickpocket, and everyone is very impressed. After Cole threatens to string the kid up or something, the cops arrive to arrest the kid. Oh my god. Watch this cop struggle trying to put the cuffs on the kid. Watch. 1, 2, 3. Oh, she got it. The friendly cop suggests that Cole join the police force and jokes that he'll have to pass a psych exam first. They return to Vanessa's house and Cole is disheartened. Vanessa says she believes in him and he cheers up a little bit. This scene is legitimately really sweet. However cheesy I may think this movie is, I really do buy the chemistry between the two of them. There's just something about Vanessa Hudgens and a shaggy-haired, lean white guy. Just fits in my mind for some reason. I'm really not sure why. It's finally the morning of Christmas Eve and the lovebirds are baking all the goodies for the Christmas Eve feast. Madison drops by with some special cocoa for Cole and a suit for the feast. Vanessa tells Cole about David, the guy who can't buy the gloves for his daughter. He has 4 kids and his wife died. He volunteers, and he doesn't often have the money to buy a lot of gifts for his kids. Vanessa and Cole get dressed up. Oh, I love that dress. She tries to tie his tie and can't, and I kind of love that she can't. It's such a ubiquitous scene in a movie like this where the lady comes up to the guy and fixes his tie for him, and I just kind of love that she walks up to him to try and help him with it, and like after you see her visibly struggling with it, she just goes, yeah, I don't have any idea what I'm doing. She asks him to close his eyes and gives him a present of an $1.50, and I honestly, really unironically love this scene. This whole scene, from her coming in and helping with his tie to her giving him the gift and them leaving for the feast, is just... It's a nice callback to his story earlier, and it shows how much she really listened and cares about doing something that he would feel is important. Vanessa and company got Santa to come to the feast to present David's family with presents donated from the town and money from the ticket sales to the feast. It's all very sweet and heartwarming. Cole dresses up in his garb and poses by the tree to take photos with people after giving Vanessa a cryptic message about there being a non-believer in their midst. Here comes the neighbor again, flying in on her broom with a mistletoe in hand. She tells Cole about the mistletoe tradition, but what's this? She encourages him to go kiss Vanessa. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed. I was expecting her to be some kind of really annoying 11th hour complication, but she wasn't. She said mistletoe and my stomach just went, ugh. I thought, oh no, she's going to come up, she's going to hold up the mistletoe, she's going to surprise kiss him, and Vanessa's going to see, and she's going to get upset, and Cole's going to have to go after Vanessa and be like, Vanessa, no, I didn't mean it. And he's going to have to win her back because we still have 20 whole minutes left in the movie. But no, she doesn't. That's kind of nice. And it goes to show that Vanessa has some major issues because she was judging this girl on her actions in f***ing high school and not giving her a chance to show that she's a changed person. After the feast, Vanessa and Cole are alone. He asks her to enlighten him on a Christmas tradition about it. She says it's bad luck not to kiss if a couple finds themselves under it, but it's probably just an old wives' tale.
why risk it?
His medallion begins to glow, and they quickly return to the Christmas town. Good thing he's already dressed in his knight's garb. They have an emotional goodbye because he feels honor-bound to return for his brother's knighting ceremony. Some smoke comes up out of nowhere, and he disappears. This girl looks around like, what the f***? It was all real. I was the main character in a movie this whole time! Vanessa doesn't have anything else to do, so she starts to go home. Her random student finds her again and tells her that her boyfriend wanted to get back together with her and she told him to f*** off because true love doesn't exist, just like Vanessa said. See, Vanessa, this is why we don't tell children that love doesn't exist, because they listen to you. We don't be bitter bitches to children. Vanessa corrects what she says to the girl in the beginning and is just kind of like sobbing, like, I was wrong. Love is real, and oh my God, I'm so sad. And the girl's just looking at her like,
Okay.
Then we get a sad montage of Vanessa being lonely and sad. She finds the bean and other stuff that Cole left in the house. She's so sad, but she's not crying at all. They put some eye drops in her eyes, and that's it. I know you can do it, Vanessa. Cry. Meanwhile, Cole returns to the past, and his horse senses him. Bro! That shit was crazy! That crone showed up, and there was a blue light, and you disappeared, so I ran! He's so happy to see that horse. He speaks with his brother and realizes that he was foolish to leave Vanessa. His brother says, F*** my ceremony, go get your girl. Cole rides off on Sherwin to find the crone. In modern times, Claire finds a puppy in her stocking, but neither of the parents or Vanessa know how it got there. So the crone brought it to her through Christmas magic. Vanessa tells Madison that Cole went home. Still not really crying, just... Back in the past, Cole finds the crone again and pleads his case. He says he will do anything for her to send him back. This is going to show up and ask for his firstborn child in a few years. She sends him back to the future, but does he get to bring his horse this time? Vanessa and the fam are at the Christmas town and witness Cole's sudden return. Yes, he has the horse! That's exciting. They confess their love for each other, blah, blah, blah. He says this memorable line.
My handsome knight.
She sounded like she was going to throw up when she said that. To be honest, I wouldn't be able to say this line without throwing up. They go for a ride on his horse, and you hear someone in the crowd yell, "How romantic!" And it's like, yeah, how romantic, with her face pressed into his freezing cold metal armor. Wait, hold up. Vanessa, you produced this? This is like if I got famous enough to produce the fan fiction I wrote for Kate and Leopold and then cast myself as Kate. It's really difficult to do any sort of actual critical assessment of a movie like this. They're fairly cookie cutter with a bit of flair here and there to make them just ever so slightly different. Movies like this kind of have to be like that because there has to be a crop of new ones every year, and there's only so many variations of person learns how to love around Christmas time that you can really do before you start to repeat the pattern and retread old ground. I really like that he stays in modern times rather than her going back to his time, because for someone as independent and outspoken as she is in this movie, it wouldn't make sense for her to go back to a time where she wouldn't really have much in the way of rights. They do go farther than they really need to for this type of movie to explain why Cole can do some of the things that he can do. He talks about learning to bake while on duty in the kitchen, which is a nice detail fleshing out his history since we don't really know much about him. We don't really get to see him in the context of his own environment before he's thrown into the future. We see a lot more development of the relationship between the two of them than we usually do in any romantic comedy, never mind a Hallmark type movie like this. Even though the setup of the movie is preordained, it's nice to see them really put some effort into getting the two of them together. I would actually buy them as a couple, even if it wasn't set up as they're the main characters, so they're going to be a couple. Obviously, yeah, I call her Vanessa the whole time, but her character name is actually Small Town Sweater Wearing Vanessa. Her actual character name is Stacy? No, that's the other movie. This one is Brooke. Brooke Winters. Winters. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe if you would like to see more. Leave a comment with your thoughts, and if you'd like to support me in what I do, head over to patreon.com/writingwomen. Thanks to my current patrons, Mary Doc Brandybuck, Ms. Psycho, Amy Chu, aka The Doctor, Lord Butterbutt, Bruce, Red, and Kirsten. Thanks very much for watching.